Welcome to the Any Key Video Show, the place and platform for indie creatives. I'm your host, Kenny Any Key Moore. This is a rap music episode. We're going to be talking some Christian hip hop. My guest has a new single out, but before we start the show, would you do two things for me? First, go like and subscribe to the Minds Creativity YouTube channel so you can check out the rest of the content and get alerts when new shows are available. Second, subscribe to my YouTube channel at coach underscore ANYKENY and follow me on social media at coach underscore ANYKENY on X, TikTok, and Instagram so you can check out other episodes of the show and keep up with the rest of the stuff that I'm doing. All right, my guest is ready. I'm ready. So let's start the show. Before my guest comes on to talk about his new single, let's listen to it. Here's Trell Brooks, Ceilings and Floors on the Any Key Video Show.
Yeah. Straight away, but I came back home. Thank you, God. It's the TRELL. Time to wake 'em up, they sleeping on 'em. This ain't mattress firm, about to perish from a lack of knowledge. Dog, you better learn. Quick to miss your chance of skipping steps. Better wait your turn. True riches in heaven, you can never show me what I'm worth. Grew up in church, I was leading and serving. My father and mother had laid the foundation. Children's choir, Sunday school, we were opening Bibles and flipping through pages. Learn about God and His greatness, holding on to His promises. How could He break it? Knew I would have this influence for teaching the students the truth before stepping on stages. Time that went on, I was thinking I'm grown, confident, strong, so I start getting accurate. Going to church and reciting the verses. These shorties were really attractive, I'm really distracted. Changing these numbers and hitting these parties, you know that I'm lit. Celebrating with the homies and thinking we standing on business while sitting and seeing. Picked up a pen, placed it on paper and realized as soon as the gift they were playing. Took it to college when I got inspired from the strongest. A flowery fragrance, a cloud that was hanging, idolatry stricken. Carried this habit like mothers who out here expecting a baby. What I gave birth to was killing my virtue. I saw some was Satan, I had too much dip on my chip. Out here walking around with a stench. I got me a lady, we had us a baby. That struggle was really too real. I'm stuck in my ways for over a decade. That monster had caused me to slip. Could lose everything that was given by God for all of the things that I did. Misleading my lady, neglecting my children. Some things were just too.
All right, now joining me is Trell Brooks. He's a Christian hip hop artist from the Charlotte area. He started doing poetry and spoken word, which has evolved now into doing rap. We just heard his new single. Now let's bring him on to talk about it. Trell, welcome to the show. Thanks for being on. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, my pleasure. My
Yeah.
pleasure. So, the first time anybody comes on the show with me, I always start the interview with this question. Tell me the moment or your earliest memory of when you first fell in love with music.
Ooh, I don't think anybody ever asked me that one before. My earliest memory of when I fell in love with music, it had to be absolutely in the church, because that's where I learned how to play the drums,
Okay,
just by watching the other drummers and kind of picking up and picking up the sticks and doing whatever I saw and just getting a rhythm for myself. And so I remember there was a time where I would be playing and I could feel this sense of like joy or happiness that comes over me. But at that age, I didn't really know how to explain it. And so I remember I was talking to my aunt in the kitchen and I was telling her, I said, there's something that like I feel, it's just like peace. It feels good whenever I'm playing. She looked at me, she said, that's the spirit. And so I said,
mm,
oh, okay, that's what that. And I had to be every bit of like maybe 11, 12,
okay,
13, maybe. And so I'm not, I'm in church because of my family. And like I said in the song, children's choir and being a musician in there, but I'm not deeply rooted, how I am now. My wisdom and my understanding, it wasn't where it is now. So
I got you.
yeah, I couldn't explain it, but I would say that would be the time where I really fell in love with music because of um what it was doing for my spirit that I didn't even realize at that time.
I got you. I got you. So, talk about your journey. You started doing poetry, and then that evolved into spoken word, and now it's evolved into rap. So, talk about that journey from poetry to spoken word and into rap.
Yeah, the poetry started in high school. I needed an outlet for whatever I was dealing with at the time. I think it might have been a relationship, but I had always heard that people would write to kind of get things off of their chest to make
Sure,
themselves feel
for
better.
sure.
A lot of people work out, play ball, or hang out with friends. So I tried the writing thing, and I had a very creative and vivid imagination. And
Okay.
so I would write. I would write every day, and I allowed my mother to hear or read some of the stuff that I had wrote, and she's an avid reader, and she just thought it was pretty good for somebody who wasn't really a writer or a reader like that. And so that transitioned into just having a knack for it, not really doing anything with it, just writing. Then I got into college, and I joined that chapter of the NAACP, and they had this showcase they were putting on. And it was like, yeah, we need dancers, we need singers, spoken word artists, poets, rappers, whoever. Is there anybody in here that has anything or can do anything?
Mhm.
Excuse me. And I said, well, I got a poem, and at that time it was really just one poem that I didn't mind reading out loud. And so I read it, and the entire group went crazy and was like, yeah, you definitely got to perform that. And so that was the catalyst for me going strictly into spoken word, because before all that, everything stayed in the notebook. I wasn't really vocal like that. I wasn't expressive in a way of performance or entertainment. That hadn't even crossed my mind until I got that validation from the group that I was in. And so once I performed that poem at the showcase, there was a lot of other people who were known on campus and known around the city who did poetry and did spoken word. As far as the slams, the competitions,
Okay.
just having books out, and so they kind of took a liking to me and took me under their wing. So I got a lot of guidance and knowledge and just experience with different poets and different spoken word artists, learning different styles, exercises, really just honing in on the craft. At that time, I had fell in love with writing, fell in love with poetry, and doing that. And towards the end of my college career, I had a roommate, and he was a musician. He was in school for music, and we used to hang out, and he used to tell me, man, you doing the spoken word and the poetry. I'm pretty sure you could rap. And at that time I was like, nah, that ain't for me. Like, the spoken word is just how far it'll go. I don't even see myself rapping. Him and a few other friends really persuaded me and pushed me into at least trying it out. We would throw on some beats, and we just freestyle or just come up with words and say different things, and it was just for fun. And then he bought some studio equipment one day out of the blue, and he started recording some music, making music, producing. And I said, let me try to write something. And so the first rap that I ever wrote was to the tune of, what is that song by Outkast, Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music.
Okay.
So that instrumental I had wrote to, um, and I recorded in the microphone, and it sounds nothing compared to what you just heard on the song.
Hilarious.
Now, yeah, it's very, very, very new, very fresh, very beginner. You can tell I was a baby in it. Um, but it was something about that process of taking what was in my mind, putting it on paper, and then putting it into the microphone and just hearing it back and just working at it. And so that became, what is now. Just I still do spoken word, but that rap is a integral part of my life now because of the gift that I have in it, the skill set, and just how I feel. The same way that I felt when I was younger, coming into music and having that spirit come over me, I get that same feeling, but it's like 10 times stronger now that I'm rapping, realizing the gift that I have.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So, um, who are some rap artists who have influenced and or inspired you?
Yeah, I would have to say Outkast, more specifically Andre 3000. I'm big on lyricism, so for people who have heard my music, people who have listened to it, it's always a message in there, some type of storytelling, or some bars. It's me just showing you the skill set and also just pushing the message and the movement. So people like that, Southern lyricists such as like Ti and Nas, people that you can listen to and be amazed at from what they're saying, how they're saying it, how they're delivering it. I can go on. Who else was an influence? Even some elements of Busta Rhymes as far as just
Okay.
the creativity and the animation,
Hmm.
because and of course I'm from North Carolina, so I gotta throw, J. Cole in there.
Of
Another
course.
another Southern lyricist who was not too far from my hometown, and he's doing major things as far as putting people on and just somebody that was relatable, you know. So people like that were pretty much my biggest influences because of what they were saying and how they were saying it, and I could listen to the heart and the core. Like it wasn't just talking about women or drugs or doing this or things that were so negative. Even though some of the language might have been a little bit of explicit, I could hear through that, and it could resonate with me to a certain degree.
I got you.
Yeah,
All right. So we're going to get into talking about the single
yeah.
right on the other side of this quick break. Stay tuned.
Thing on? Can you see me out there? All right, bet. Hey everyone, Day here, CEO of Day's Palette, and I am beyond thrilled to share some exciting news with you all about the next chapter for Day's Palette. What began as a makeup artistry has grown into something much deeper, a reflection of God-given purpose. When I sat and really thought about the deeper meaning behind Day's palette, I saw it as my palette, and each color on my palette represents all the many talents that God has blessed me with. While a major part of my palette is still enhancing the beauty that already exists through makeup and hair artistry, this is an extension of that mission. But it's not just for me. We all have a palette of gifts designed to glorify Him. So for my current and future clients, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. You can breathe. Today, I am excited to announce the launch of Day's Palette apparel and accessories. This extension is more than just fashion, it's a message. Each piece is created to encourage you to reflect on your own gifts, your palette, and how you can use them to help strengthen God's kingdom. It's time to embrace our God-given gifts and bring color, light, and purpose to the world. Thank you in advance for all of your support. Stay tuned for daily updates, and I cannot wait for you to see what we have in store on this new journey at Day's Palette.
The online store is now open. So if you use code AKVS7, again, that's AKVS7, you will receive 5% off your order. Go to Days Palette LLC, which is spelled DAISPALLETTE LLC printify.me to get your Days Palette apparel and accessories. All right, we're back with Trell Brooks. He's got a new single out. We just played a clip of it, and so Trell, let's talk about it. Give me the and we're talking about it backstage. That this song has it kind of sounds like your life story
Yeah.
in a sense, and so talk about the inspiration behind Ceilings and Floors and how it was created.
Yeah. So about a year ago, I had um I had gone through something with me and my wife, and it had challenged me spiritually. And I know that God had been tugging on my heart to do more and to be more. And so I'm just reflecting over the past 31 years of my life, like not just the accomplishments, the highs and lows, but just all of it, the life. And I was like, what? I know I should be doing more. I know there's a calling, but I'm not leaning into it. I'm not being respective of it. So I said, let me really do this thing for God. Like from college on, man, not even from college. I'll say this because and the song talks about, um my parents had laid the foundation, so I came up in church, right? It is true. Sunday school, choir, children's choir, vacation Bible school, like all of it, church trips. I was definitely in it because of my parents, and I gained a lot from it. I'm actually a good bit of the man that I am today is because of my upbringing in the church and the people that had a hand in that. But as you get older, you step outside of your parents' house and you step outside of some traditions, and you in this world, somewhat alone, not alone, but trying to do things on your own. That foundation that I had, I found myself trying to neglect it and not even have God as a reference in a lot of the things that I was doing,
Wow.
especially when in college, because like I said, I'm at closer to high school, I'm hitting 15, 16. I'm meeting girls, and we exchanging numbers. I'm thinking I'm lit. I'm getting into some stuff. Like, I'm not a bad kid. I wasn't out here being no criminal, but yeah, like I was experimenting, I was living,
Sure,
I was,
sure,
doing a lot of
yeah,
things that teenage boys do.
sure.
And so I got to college, man. I was like, wow, I'm just looking. Man, I'm from a small town, so I go to a bigger city, and it's just like, wow, look at this freedom, look at this opportunity, look at these the things that I could be exposed to, and the opportunities that could benefit me, or harm me, or like, just I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking this is a somewhat of a just an earthly playground. I'm not even having as much reference for God. And so, I get into um some situations, man. I developed a habit with smoking weed, and it wasn't even like that at the beginning, man. I got with some friends, and it just be every now and then, and then it developed into like an everyday thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it was so expensive. I didn't even realize what I could have bought a house and a car. By the time I
Wow.
graduated, with so much that I was spending on. Yeah, like it got to the point where it's like I didn't come up like that. I didn't, that wasn't even in my house. I wasn't even in my environment like that. It was just something that, like I said, I experienced with or experimented with, and it kind of stuck. And around the time when I'm making the music, a lot of artists who smoke weed or do drugs, there's almost like that combination with the music and the drugs, and it creates this euphoric feeling, and it puts you in another zone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that may be true or may be somewhat accurate. It wasn't the zone that I needed to be in for what God was
Yeah,
calling me to do.
I got
You know
you.
what I'm saying? And so shortly after that, man, like I met my lady a little closer to the second half of my college career. We were going strong. And even then, I still wasn't in the same mind frame that I should have been with dealing with her. So we actually broke up, a few months after getting together, and then came back the next school year or whatever. And her last year, my junior year, we found out that we're having a baby, our first child, our son. And so when she moves or goes back down to Charlotte, I'm finishing up trying to figure out how can I get down to Charlotte and be there for her? Because her support was here. Her parents, cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, like all my folks was on the other side of North Carolina. So like
Mm,
everything that child was going to need and the support she needed was going to be here. So I wanted to make sure
okay.
that I could be the man that I needed to be, and try to do the right thing by taking care of her and taking care of my son. And it was just a thing where, like, even after college, I was still stuck in that mindset, man. I was still smoking. I wasn't even doing right by her. I wasn't considerate enough. Sometimes I would neglect my children. I'll be putting other things before them. I'm trying to. I started learning how to trade and day trade and invest. And a lot of times, I would blow my money, or I would you know buy things and put energy on things as far as financially that needed to come after bills or after my kid, or I'm just a whole bunch of just irresponsible behavior, man, to the point where I'm like, I'm looking myself in the mirror and I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And I really had to talk to myself like, this ain't you. And I had to think, like, if my folks were standing around right now. My pops was standing around. I'm a grown man talking to myself like this, but the people that I respect the most in my life, certain friends, certain frat brothers, certain, like, if they were standing around, would they be proud of the man and the decisions that you making right now? And I had to sit with that. And it's just like, no, I can't, in these social settings and these groups that I'm in, I can't put on a front and put on a mask as if, like, oh yeah, I'm handling business when I'm with the homies, or when I'm in front of my parents, or when I'm out and about and people can see me and my family, but behind closed doors at the crib, at the house, I, like, my wife got trust issues with me, or my kids don't even feel comfortable coming up to me and talking, or like, I can't pay this bill because I done bought XYZ, or I done blew the money on this investment, and I'm not being wise and stewarding my stuff correctly. So
Mm-hmm.
like, it was just, I got tired.
I
I
got you.
got tired. I got real tired of it weighing on me, the addiction, the way that I was living, the lying, the being selfish. Like, it just
Wow.
wasn't doing anything for me anymore. And God has a very interesting way of pulling on you and throwing you signs and
Yes.
signals
Yes.
and just it to the point where you can try to ignore it all you want to, but it's gonna come a point in time where you're gonna have to give in, or you're gonna break down, and you ain't gonna have
That's a fact.
anywhere. Yeah, you ain't gonna have anywhere else to go but to God. And
Hmm.
so in a sense, I rededicated my life last year, to just everything that I'm doing is for him. Of course, taking care of my family, being a leader in my community, being a pillar in the community, and just in doing things in the spirit and the presence of God. Because I realized too late, in a sense, or early enough, that I can't do anything without him. I've been trying to do this my own way and it hasn't worked. Like if I'm drinking or if I'm turning up and I'm smoking, there's a void that I'm trying to fill. And if I'm
That's real.
overeating, if I'm overspending, if
That's real.
I'm snapping on my kids when I done had a long day at work and they getting the rest of me when they should be getting the best of me, like that's not how
That's
it's
really,
supposed to be.
that's real
Like I
talk.
yeah, I got so tired of it, man. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna rededicate my life to Christ. I'm gonna start making this music for him. He gave me this gift. He gave me this family. He gave me this house. He gave me these opportunities, these skill sets. I said, how dare I um, do this for vanity? How dare I have selfish ambitions? How dare I think that it's all me and that I can front and flex when people, the real ones, can see my spirit and know my heart? Like I'm no longer rushing anything. I'm no longer trying to fake it as if I got all the answers, or it's been solid all through it. It hasn't, man. I'm on my journey, and I'm beyond grateful to God for the things that He's revealed to me in my life and the lessons that I had to learn the hard way. It's given me so much wisdom, and I said I don't want to go back. I'm not going back to always being selfish and not considering my wife. I'm not going back to being so quick to neglect my children and not attend to them when I'm in the house and I'm present. I'm here. There's some kids that I work with. The closest thing they have to a father figure is their teacher that they see every day. How dare I be in my own house and not give my kids what they deserve? And God has given me too much grace and mercy when I know I don't need it. Still don't need
Mm.
it. Even if me getting better day by day, I don't need it. And so how dare I neglect them? How dare I misuse and abuse the leadership, the authority, and the power to cultivate and teach and lead for my own benefits? It's not supposed to be like that. So I'm deeper in the word, I'm deeper in prayer, in meditation with God. And I know I'm kind of rambling going on, but that song was so personal
Oh,
because it's you're right. It is a bit, it's a good bit of my life story. It's just a snippet, but it's just a snapshot of like g- straight away, but I came back home. Thank you,
I
God.
got you.
You know what I'm
I got
saying?
you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
God.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the greatest songs that you have, or the greatest material that you're going to get, it's either gonna come from a place of inspiration or a place of pain,
Yeah.
right? So, and I think when you're writing from those experiences, it makes it easier. Not only makes it easier for you to write, but it makes it more relatable because everyone has been where you are. Everyone has strayed away in some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. None of us
Yeah.
have, been perfect all our lives. We've all had our challenges and we've all had our struggles. So I
Right.
think that the fact that you put that to paper and put that, to use the old term, on wax. Like
Yeah.
I just think that that was super dope, man. So I really I respect the fact that you put your life on your pen.
Thank you, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, for sure. So tell me, shout out any of your collaborators that helped with the production of the song.
Yeah. Honestly, that beat, if I'm not mistaken, that is from Donnie Katana. But as far as my team collaborators, I got to give a huge shout out to Shock the Culture, Dominic Hollins, man, and my boy Kirk. We are truly a three-headed monster when it comes to this. And it's just when two or three are gathered, right? Like we are all
Hmm.
on the same time, all on the same time, all in the same spirit. And we meet weekly, we communicate just about daily, and so it's one of those things where We all are strong in the area, and we put those strengths together. It's like, look at what God is doing. Now look at what Dom is doing. Now look at what Trail is doing, or what Kirk is doing. Look at what God is doing, because this is what it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be. All of the producers that I've worked with, Matthias Brenman out in Israel, Jay
Wow,
White out in South Carolina, a couple other people, just everybody that I've had the opportunity to work with or work under in Charlotte, in North Carolina and surrounding areas. It's too many to name, but the people who support, I got coworkers that support, I got family
that's what's
members
up.
obviously that support, and so that it's not 500, it's not a million, it's not 1,000. But one thing I tell people is that it reaches who it's supposed to and who it needs to reach at the time that it does. I leave that in God's hands. I'm just
For
making
sure,
sure that I'm being a vessel, and I'm doing it with Him in reference and Him in mind, and allowing Him to use me through the Holy Spirit. And so, whoever it gets to is who it gets to. But as far as my team and the supporters and the collaborators, that's it right there, man. I'm always be grateful for them because of what they're doing out of the spirit, out of the kindness of their heart, and out of just true love and support for the kid.
for sure. So, um, firstly, I think it's really, I'm glad to see that you have a team behind you
Oh
because I
yeah,
think that's important. As the saying goes, teamwork makes the dream work. So the fact that you have a team is a good thing. And then the second thing that I like that you said is that you're not worried about, uh, the numbers or how many people support you. I think that that's sometimes as creatives, sometimes we get caught up in how many people are supporting us, and it tends
yeah,
to discourage us. So the fact that you have that perspective, I think, is really, really good and really important. And then the Bible says that your gift will make room for you. So if you
oh
just
yeah,
focus on lifting him up and doing it His way, then your gift is ultimately going to make room for you. And the people that that you said to your point, people that are meant to hear it, that are going to hear it. So
yeah,
I just think you have a great attitude and a great perspective on that.
yeah.
So
I appreciate
as
that.
we get ready to wrap up, we talked a little bit about it backstage, but tell my audience what's next for you, and then tell them how they can connect and follow you on social media.
Oh yeah. What's next is more music. Honestly, plain and simple. It's funny because I had a meeting with my manager the other day, and it was a real one. It was a real meeting. He was just telling me, it's like, bro, you more music, more volume. We got to get it out there, so that when we have these conversations, when we're meeting with certain individuals, and we got content on the way, like we have something to work with and to build off of. So it's music. Like I said, over the last 3 weeks, I've released 3 songs every Friday, and so I'm working on another one to be released next week. If not by next week, the week after. So it's weekly drops with music.
Okay.
I have a videographer, and we're working on some content. We're working on some visuals, and in the works with some music videos, some actual like real film footage content for the YouTube page, for the socials. So people can follow me at Trell Brooks NC on TikTok, on Instagram, and YouTube, Facebook. You can find me. I'll pop up. But that's really what's next is the music, the content, and a few performances. I'll be performing in Wilmington, North Carolina for a church event.
Okay.
And I think that's about 3 weeks. And then I'll be here in Charlotte, Charlotte and Concord area for another church event performing. And the great thing about it is with these events, I don't always have to do rap. I can do spoken word too. So it's a blessing to be able to have um, that tool belt, to pull from. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
For
hey,
sure.
yeah, would you be willing to perform or minister at this event? And I'm like, yeah, what type of event is it? Tell me the details, and they'll let me know. I'm like, okay, this more of a spoken word joint, or okay, I can definitely get busy with the tunes and rap and kind of. Depending on what the event and the crowd and the audience is, like I can pull from the tool belt to see what I need to use and what God will allow me to present. So I'm just looking forward to those opportunities to meet with people like you, to connect with other producers, and to get more music out and continue to push the movement and the moment that God is creating for me and my team. Man, I'm just happy about it. So that's what's next.
Absolutely. So listen, man. Um, once you do get the visuals, you got to come back
Oh yeah,
so we could hear some more of your music and see the visuals behind it.
yes sir,
So all the best, man. I'm looking forward to hearing more from you and looking forward to seeing more from you. And
yes
your
sir.
music has a home here on the Any Key Video Show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
All right, man. Thanks for being on.
All right, thank you.
All right. That was Montrell. That was Montrell. We appreciate him coming on. That was Trell Brooks, rather. Uh, so full government. And that's going to be it for this episode of the Any Key Video Show. I want to thank Trell Brooks for joining me. If you have any questions, comments, would like your brands or services to be advertised and promoted on the show, or if you want your video to be featured on the show, send an email to KANMmusicPUB@gmail.com. Again, that's KANMmusicPUB@gmail.com. Subscribe to the Minds of Creativity YouTube channel, which is a part of the All Sports All Plays Network, so you can check out the rest of the content and so you can get the alert when new episodes are available. You can become a patron on my Patreon page. Just go to patreon.com/ANYKENY to get exclusive access to new content and free show merchandise. Or you can order your merchandise at the online store, which is KANMcollective.threadless.com. Again, that's KANMcollective.threadless.com. Shout out to all my patrons and people who have ordered merchandise. Really appreciate your support. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Coach_ANYKENY and follow me on social media at Coach_ANYKENY on X, TikTok, and Instagram, and on my Facebook music page, Any Key Music, which is spelled capital ANY, capital KE, lowercase b, lowercase n, and capital Y. So until next time, remember, be positive on purpose.